I'm going to start this with a disclaimer. At the end of this talk, you may decide to not go to university. And a lot of you or your parents may not like that. In that case, parents, this is the right time to take your children out to the canteen for a vada pav break. But there's a fair reason why to not go to university. And that's because India's higher education system is failing. It was created by the British to create clerks. Today, what it is doing, because of its rote learning system, because of its obsolete curriculum, is that it's creating adult children who can't think for themselves, who can't decide, who have no relevant actual knowledge or skills. Thus, it's no wonder that we have 22-year-olds coming out of college today, having absolutely no idea what to do with their life. They're unemployable, they're lost, and they've spent 3 to 4 years and at least a few lakh rupees to get here, right? But this same 22-year-old could have been a truly successful individual, capable and confident, at least 2 years into his career, a promotion in his pocket, maybe leading a team today. And I was well on my way to be the first kind of 22-year-old. I had taken up engineering, I was studying civil engineering. But one day, an event shook me up. I'd gone to a construction site, and I was overseeing some work there when a laborer comes to me and says, "Saab, ये जो आप कर रहे हो ये college और exam में ठीक है, but यहाँ नहीं चलेगा. आओ, मैं आपको सिखाता हूँ." And I was like, if this guy knows better than me, and I am in one of the top colleges in Bombay, what am I doing? And that one incident set me on a path of self-learning, which has brought me here today. So I can see that face you're making. If we don't go to college, what do we do? Right? And I'll get to that. There are 100 things you can do. But before we get to that, let's take a look at why do we go to college? The first reason is it's just the default thing to do. We spend more time thinking of what am I going to eat for dinner today than whether I should go to college or not. What's the value of those few years and few lakh rupees spent? Second, jobs. That's why everyone goes to college. But if that's what you're going to college for, let me tell you something, straight facts. 80% of India's engineering graduates and 93% of India's MBA graduates are deemed to be unemployable. What you're learning in college is almost not relevant. Second, like most of you have seen, whatever you study in college, people actually take up careers which are very different from what they've learned. I had a friend who did mechanical engineering. She got placed in an IT role at Barclays. And that's thousands of people that's happening to. And companies are realizing this. There's top companies like Google, IBM, Apple, EY who are dropping the need to even have a degree to apply for a job. So what do we do instead? What we do is we design our own education. How do we do this? First, we need to have a goal in mind. What do you want to be? Who do you want to become? Do you want to be a finance professional, a coder, a game designer, or even a wine taster? I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to run my own venture. I wanted to have room to create my own ideas. And I'm also Marwadi, so it's in my blood. Right? And it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. It's completely normal. In that case, what you have to do is you have to experiment and explore. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know in what. I didn't know how. I was lost. I knew I liked traveling and I knew I liked education, but it was years of leading people, coaching them, giving talks like these, teaching that led me to realize education is my first love. But I didn't know this. I discovered this. You can consciously do this. How? Travel, volunteer, tell your friends and family to connect you to as many different people doing different things and have conversations with them. And then the ones you really find interesting, shadow them for a day, see what they're doing. Take up, go to events, take up exploratory internships. But do whatever it takes to really find out what is it that you love to do. And then once you find that out, you've got to find out what skills and abilities you need for that role. Develop those skills. For example, you want to be a travel blogger. You need to know how to click great pictures, you need to know how to do editing, you need to know how to manage social media, you also need to know how to pose, and how to manage brands and make some money from them, while dealing with the uncertainty, while dealing with cancelled flights. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I needed to learn how to communicate in front of people, I needed to know how to lead a team, I needed to know how to make and manage money, and just lead in general. And I was very conscious about learning these things. Years back, I couldn't even speak in front of 3 people. Today, I'm standing in front of you here. What changed? I joined this organization called ISEC. I attended a conference where there was this one guy giving a conference session to 300 young people, and he'd captured their attention. He'd captivated them, he'd inspired them to the level that there were shivers running down all our spines. And in that moment, I decided, I want to be like this guy. I want to be able to do this. And just at that time, he asked a question, and I was like, Shronit, this is your time. You got to put your hand up, you've got to answer this. Start with now. And I put my hand up like this. You know, when you don't want anyone to see you put your hand up, but you're trying to prove to yourself that you put your hand up. But he saw that, and he's like, I'm not going to eat you up. It's great that you have the guts to speak in front of 300 people. And I answered. And the next day I put my hand up 5 times, then 10 times, and I went on to lead a team of 4 people, and then lead a department of 20 people, and then lead the entire organization as president of 200 people, who I had to address every 2 weeks. The rest became history. I wanted to know how to learn to communicate better. I took up a teaching internship in Czech Republic. I was teaching English in a town of 80,000 people where no one spoke English and I didn't speak Czech. What can be a more challenging scenario to learn how to communicate? And at that time, I used to speak with my hands in my pocket. Today, I speak with my body. I learned that over there. So you've got to learn from various sources. These could be workshops, online courses, offline training camps. You reach out to a company and tell them, I'm willing to work for you for free for 3 months. You work well for those 3 months. If you've learned well, they're definitely going to pay you. If you want to be a CEO, reach out to CEOs and tell them, I want to be your assistant. I am going to do it for free. 20 will say no, the 21st may say yes, and that 21st is all that counts. I'll tell you a story of another alum of Jamnabai. He went to Harvard Business School for his MBA. He completed it, came back to India, reached out to Anand Mahindra that I want to work for you. Anand Mahindra said, sure, but I can't afford you. He asked him, what's the minimum that you need to work for me? And he said, at least my pre-MBA salary. And that may be 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, whatever it was. And this guy could have at that time made at least 80 lakhs or a crore of salary. And he said, sure, you're going to start work as my executive assistant. That guy worked as his EA for 4 years. You know what his next job was? He became straight CEO of a Mahindra subsidiary company. So you've got to build your skills, and this point brings me to my next point, where you've got to also build your network. You need a network of peers who you can lean on and learn from. You need a network of experts who can mentor you and guide you. And you need a network of people who can hire you or be your clients, so just pay you for your services. Because success is one part what you know, second, who you know, and third, what you do with all of this. Right? So you got to build your network. How? Go to conferences. Reach out to people on LinkedIn and say, can I please buy you a cup of coffee and pick your brain? And then be grateful to them for that time and say, please connect me to someone else. I got my first job via my network. I was invited to apply to the extent that I could pick my own hours. And that's because they saw me demonstrate my skills when I was president of ISEC. Which brings me to my 5th and last point. Ultimately, to get serious work, you've got to demonstrate your skills. You've got to signal to your network and via your network that you know your shit and you can get things done. That's why you get hired ultimately. Do you know why the top companies go to the top colleges to hire? It's not because of what you learn there. It's because you signaled that I have the smartness and the drive to be in this college, and that's why you must hire me. What's the difference between an engineering graduate who just got out of college with a pay package of 5 lakhs, then he goes to an IIM, spends 2 years there straight, and then comes out with a pay package of 25 lakhs? Sure, he learned how to use Excel, send some emails, use management rules, throw some jargon around. But what's different is that he signaled that I am in the top 0.5% or 1 percentile of the youth, and thus if you want to hire me, that's my price. Right? But you don't need to go to college to do this. If you want to be a content writer, learn to write great content. Then get Entrepreneur or Your Story to feature your content. Just one blog post is enough to signal. If you want to be a coder, learn how to write great code, then find a bug in an existing software or find a bug in Google Maps and email Google about it. You've definitely got their attention. If you want to be a finance professional, show how in your past internship you managed to save 5% of the budget. That's going to open more doors for you than a finance degree from a top college in Bombay. So ultimately, you've got to demonstrate your skills, and to get those skills, design your own education. Now I know this is easier said than done. That's exactly why, using these insights, I'm trying to create a company called CareerNinja out of this to help more people develop their skills and showcase them. Where we're using artificial intelligence, we're using technology, because I just don't want you or the people watching this video to do this. I want as many people to be able to do this. But honestly, you don't need me, you don't need CareerNinja. If you're driven enough, you can do this yourself. I am no one special. I did this 11 years back. I was sitting in this very auditorium. No one told this to me, but I figured it out. Today, I'm telling this to you. You should ideally go one step ahead of me. So, you may agree with what I've said here, or you may disagree with some of the points, but the fact is, whether you skip university and do this, or whether you be a part of university and design your own education in parallel, you're going to have to do this, because the gap between what we're learning in traditional education today and between what the world needs you to know to actually be useful is increasing exponentially every single day. And if you want to be someone who matters, if you want to do work that matters, you've got to take that jump. If you're okay being complacent, if you're okay and you want to skip this, you can do that temporarily, but one day you're going to need relevant skills. And that day, your employer will look at what you know and he'll think to himself, do I want to keep this guy? Do I want to upskill him? Or do I want to keep his co-worker who's already been one step ahead and picked those skills up? And no brownie points for what he's going to do. Right? So, you have a choice. Do you want to follow and go with the flow? Or do you want to take control of your own outcomes? Do you want to be just another individual looking for a job? Or do you want to be someone who knows exactly what he wants and has the ability to do that? Because if you choose to be the latter, and imagine if every Indian who's entering this workforce, 10 million of them every single year, choose to do that and come out as people who are able to contribute to the world, imagine the increase in productivity, imagine the increase in our GDP, imagine the increase in employment, imagine the increase in overall life satisfaction. And imagine if the entire world did this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of a world that chooses to take control. That's the power of a world that chooses to design their own learning. Thank you.